Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our City Nature Celebration. We're glad to be here at Main Street Landing on April 19th, 2023, and spring is unfolding, and this whole series uh, rightfully starts right in the middle of Earth Week because here in the greater Burlington area, we are celebrating our relationship with the more than human world. And as everybody knows, spring is unfolding. Sometimes it's raining, snowing, and sometimes we have 70-degree weather here in the greater Burlington area. But it's just a fantastic time of year. So thank you for coming and being a part of our kickoff event for City Nature Celebration. This is our third annual one. And as you're going to see in a minute, it connects us globally around the world. Cities are all focusing in on essentially the urban wilds around them, whether it's New York City, Bogota, Paris, Burlington, and the greater Burlington area, which includes, of course, Colchester, Winooski, South Burlington, and Burlington. So anyway, welcome. My name is Walter Pullman. I'm an ecologist at the University of Vermont. I teach in the Rubenstein School of Environment and Natural Resources, and I'm part of a team from around the city, and I'm going to showcase all the different groups involved in this in just a moment. And we're just really excited to be documenting the unfolding of spring. There's a whole study called phenology, which is basically how nature responds to the cycles of the seasons as things warm up. And I'm sure people, wherever you are, and if you're at home right now tuning in, I'm sure you have been observing what's been going on around you, just in terms of leaves coming out, flowers blooming, birds returning, salamanders moving, you name it, it's happening. And so welcome tonight to City Nature Celebration of the greater Burlington area. I'll just tell you briefly, I'm going to just be speaking for a few minutes, and then we're going to have a series of speakers who have been studying the more than human world in the greater Burlington area, either at the high school level or at the college level. A lot of great research going on in this nature connection. And so first of all, what's involved in City Nature Celebration? Well, there are many different events. It actually all started last Friday, and I'll show you in a minute. A group gathered down at the Flynn to really learn from a naturalist, Teague Connor, and Jane Lindholm from Vermont Public, all gathered together to celebrate and ask questions and learn more about things. So it started last week, and something happened yesterday that I'll feature here in just a minute. Tree planting for Earth Month has already helped launch things. But tonight, we're doing the launching night, and as you can see in our schedule down here, it's really all about celebrating the focal species of Burlington, but one in particular, the Spiny Softshell turtle. We're really going to be learning a lot about tonight. It's an incredibly cool creature, and we'll meet the researcher who's been working on studying it. So that's coming up April 19th, but mark your calendars because 8 days from today on April 27th, otherwise known as City Nature Challenge Eve, is happening. And that's the night before we get up, and then the 4 days after that, we participate in this global City Nature Challenge using iNaturalist. I have it downloaded onto my phone, and I'm going to be out there documenting things and hope you all will join us as we both collaborate and compete with cities around the world in a fun way to document the more than human world. So that's coming up. But on the 27th, we're going to be featuring the bees of greater Burlington area. And we have an excellent entomologist who's been studying this, and it'll be a great one. We'll also be broadcasting it again over the television, essentially through the great help from Media Factory. So that's coming up. And then, of course, the City Nature Challenge itself is a 4-day BioBlitz from April 28th to May 1st. And we're hoping as many people as possible are going to be a part of that. And there's 2 great events coming up as well. You'll see at the bottom down here, Rock Point Nature Celebration is a big thing that's happening on Saturday, April 29th at Rock Point. And I think it's from 10 to 2, if I have that right. I'm looking for some nods in the audience. And boy, Rock Point is just one of the gems of the greater Burlington area when it comes to biodiversity. And so a lot of chance to connect with nature, learn while you're there. Think about coming out for that. And then the next day, we're moving down and along the river, and it's our third annual Spectacular Nature Day taking place at Intervale. The Intervale Center, Winooski Valley Park District, and others are really hosting this down there. And it's a great opportunity to not only sort of learn about the natural history of the floodplain, but to actually work to restore it through doing some plantings. Ostrich fern is a really important one, but also there's a chance to be in relationship with your invasive species. We're going to have something called Eat Your Invasives, and it's going to be a pretty cool opportunity. Great thing. So those are 4 upcoming events we're hoping folks are going to be a part of, all a part of the City Nature Celebration, our 3rd annual one. But as I mentioned, it started last week. This was down at the Flynn Space. If you're a Vermont Public fan, you may know Jane Lindholm, a host of formerly of Vermont Edition, but now the But Why podcast. Really cool. And well over 100 students came out from local elementary and middle schools to really ask really tough, fun questions about our relationship with the urban wilds, like who lives here alongside us. And Teague O'Connor answered a lot of great questions. This podcast is coming out sometime soon. We'll make sure we put it on our website. Go to City Nature Celebration website, and you'll be able to find that. And then I think, somebody nod if this is correct, I think this picture on the right was taken yesterday down at Ethan Allen Homestead. Awesome. And well over 200 trees were planted by, looks like about 20 or so folks, working on restoring the floodplain. Because the City Nature Celebration is not only about sort of documenting the biological diversity, but also enhancing habitat for all the different animals and plants and fungi that we share the landscape with. So great job. We're already launching on this now. And then coming up, again, I want to highlight the fact that the City Nature Challenge itself, cities around the world, I think it's up to 600 cities are doing this now. Everybody at the same period of time will be documenting, again, nature in all its biological forms all around the planet on the same day. And as you know, we're very concerned about a drop in biological diversity worldwide for a whole range of reasons, from development to pollutants to climate change, are all making it so it's a tough time for many species to survive and thrive through time. And this is an opportunity to really get people engaged from around the planet, and it's pretty exciting. I'll tell you, last year, I'm almost certain Cape Town won for the 2nd year in a row. And Burlington, I think out of 400 or so cities, we were somewhere in the top 100. So that was great. And we'd love to increase our participation and really document as many species as we can. And I know a lot of my UVM students will be involved. We hope school kids, families, researchers from around the 4-town area will be participating. It's easy to take part. After the presentation, see Wynn at her table back there, and you'll learn a little bit more about how to do it. So that's the City Nature Challenge coming up in about 10 days from now. We'll launch on that. Here's some results from last year. It's pretty cool. When you use iNaturalist and you get into the iNaturalist website for the greater Burlington area, when you take a picture of an organism and you upload it and you share it, it automatically goes to the website, and your pictures are there too. Sometimes you're not sure what it is, but that's okay, because there's a group of people who will be looking at this and helping to identify them. Whether you have photographs or bird calls, it's just a great opportunity. You can see last year we had over 3,000 observations just happening in that 4-town area, and 582 species were documented in the greater Burlington area. It's a really cool number. And you can see most of them are plants, but as you go around there, you can see insects, mollusks, Amphibians, reptiles, birds, mammals are all kind of part of our biological diversity that we're trying to document. So that is what's upcoming. Please be a part of it. Here is basically our iNaturalist website for City Nature Challenge. And the greater Burlington area really, again, is defined as this 4-town area. We're really excited. We first started just in Burlington, then we partnered with Winooski, and a lot of school groups and residents of Winooski will be participating again this year, and we've expanded to Colchester and South Burlington as well. So it's this 4-town area. And if you haven't used iNaturalist before, all you have to, we've set up a project that shows that geographic area in that 4-day time period. Anything that gets uploaded there will automatically be captured on this website. So this is a really great feature of it. And it's our job to kind of be working together in order to explore during those days. It's a great time of year, of course. Many of the migratory birds are returning right around as we turn the calendar from April to May. There's just a lot of wildflowers that are up. Many things are readily identifiable. So you can get right in there and do it with us. We'll have also, I should say, at the weekend at Rock Point and at Intervale, there's going to be naturalists and specialists around to help us identify things too. Now, really important piece is that when I look at this map right here, you can see the squiggly line that runs through it, of course, is the Winooski River. And you could think about our area, this 4-town area, being the lower Winooski watershed. All the water drains into that and flows out through the Winooski River. And you could say, just a river runs through, right through the middle of it. And what is really important to think about is that even though the names of these places, like Burlington, Colchester, and South Burlington, were all named by people who settled in this area, originally came from Europe, the Winooski, the town of Winooski, and the river itself are, of course, traditional Abenaki names. And the Winooski stands for the land of the wild onion. That's what it translates into. The fertile soils of the floodplain around the Winooski this time of the year. Has anybody seen these yet? Have you been down along the Winooski? It's actually in upland sites where there's rich soils that are like the floodplain soils with high pHs, lots of nutrients. The wild onion is coming up. And I think this is just super important because we gather here tonight. We're on the unceded traditional traditional and contemporary homelands of the Winooskic band of the Abenaki. And I want to highlight the fact that these wild leeks, as sometimes they're called, or ramps, have been blossoming and coming up and leafing out in this area with people really for the thousands of years. And I make a point every year of spending time with my friend and colleague Judy Dow, who's an Abenaki educator. And as we've been exploring the Intervale and lands all around the Winooski River, she really has talked to me a lot about the importance of acknowledging the land. And I know many people think and have listened to and heard about land acknowledgements. Maybe you do them on your own as well. But Judy was reminding me that land acknowledgements, first and foremost, are about acknowledging our relationship with the land itself and the gifts that we receive. And for the Abenaki people, the Intervale was literally, it's the land between, it's the hollow area or a bowl, and is literally a food basket where people for thousands of years have been going for sustenance, from foraging, from hunting, from fishing. This has just been a place on the landscape that people have depended upon. And that tradition really, in many ways, is carried forward to our Intervale hub and the whole farming community down there to this day, where it's really a great food basket for the city of Burlington and beyond as well, all along the Winooski. So when Judy and I are down exploring that, we talk about all this history as well. And I share with her what I know as a naturalist about the biodiversity of the place, the floodplain forest, the silver maple that we're looking here, the wood ducks that are nesting right nearby. the wild ramps, and of course the different fiddlehead ferns that are just unfurling this time of year. All a part of this incredible ecosystem that we have running right through the middle of our four-town area. And we also talk a lot about, we really kind of get into the fact that thinking about the significant impacts that settlement has had, not only on the land, but of course the traditional stewards of the land, the Abenaki. And the fact that Native peoples in Vermont and beyond have suffered, violent displacement, erasure, genocide, dealing with policies at the federal and the state level that marginalize people through time. There's been a lot of breaking between cultures as well as with the land. And we want to acknowledge that as a part of the city nature celebration, that there is this history that is also part of human relationships with each other, which is really, really challenging. And as Judy and I have talked about this with many other people, we really hope that the Winooski River Valley, this four-town area, the Intervale, can actually be a place of healing as well with our relationship with the land and with each other. So there's a lot to acknowledge as a part of this whole celebration as well. One thing I want to acknowledge right away is this has been a real group effort, and many organizations, if you look at all the logos here, from Burlington Parks to Rock Point to Lake Champlain Chocolates, Tent Company, City of Burlington, Burlington Wild Waste, Winooski Valley Park District, the Half Earth Foundation, Intervale Center, the Flynn, the Greater Burlington Sustainability Education Network, Burlington City and Lake Semester that we're going to hear from in just a moment, UVM, where I'm from, Vermont Master Naturalist Program, and City Market providing that nice food you were having out there, all come together with, I want to highlight this, Main Street Landing, letting us be here tonight to host us. What an incredible organization for doing that. And also Media Factory for filming this and getting the word out to everybody. So huge thanks to the team involved in this presentation and throughout the City Nature Celebration series. All right. I am going to now turn it over to our first of a few speakers, and I'm really pleased to invite up to the podium a team from Burlington City and Lake Semester. And I have to say, I'm a huge fan of place-based learning. This is a group that's part of the Burlington School District that basically dedicates a semester. It's been going for 10 semesters now, if I got that right. This is the 10th group over 5 years that has been using the city as classroom, studying the natural and cultural history of the city, all the things we celebrate, from art to the problems that we deal with as well. This group gets right in there and looks at it. And we've been thrilled to have them focusing on City Nature Celebration and picking up our 60 focal species for this project that we're really focusing on, and taking a deeper dive and adopting some of those artistically and scientifically. So I'm going to invite them up here right now. Nola and your team, if you could come up. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Nola, and they're a tremendous student at UVM in our place-based education certificate, among other things. So Nola, thank you for your role. I'll turn it over to you, and I'll actually pass this to your team here. I'm just going to ask you to stand right here so the mic will work for everybody. So let's welcome our Burlington City and Lake Semester team.
Hi, my name is Nola Scott. I'm a senior at UVM, and I'm in the Place-Based Education Certificate Program. And for my capstone project, I partnered with Burlington City and Lake Semester, the students part of it, and Sina, one of their teachers, and Walt Pullman as well. And each student chose a focal species out of the list of 60 that Walt just mentioned, that they researched and learned about their phonology, and then artistically rendered them in some way. And you can see out on our table in the lobby area everybody's drawings. So to start us off is Nevin.
So Walter already touched on this a little bit, but Burlington City and Lake, it's a semester that's kind of like out of the classroom. We meet with community partners and really just learn in the city. I would say we have an emphasis on like global warming, community, and kind of everything in between. So for this, our project, we had different groups and we picked a focal species, one of 60 that's here in Vermont. We went out and explored and tried to find each species and see it in real life. And yeah. Uh,
My name is Kim, and you might be asking what is a focal species, and it's basically uh, a species of animals that are important to our ecosystem and have a positive impact on this ecosystem. And as Walt said, from the 60 focal species we had to choose, ranging from like flowers to birds to mammals.
So the first one of the students from BCL, Anna Meek, did. It's the bloodroot flower, and she did a really cool, like, three-dimensional collage rendition of the flower. And I was talking to somebody earlier who said these are starting to pop out at Rock Point right now, which is really exciting. So you can see them around there.
for my species, I picked a beaver. Um, some things about them. Beavers like to smack their tail on water to indicate danger. They're most active in the evening and night, and they are right now. They're out right now, so you can maybe see them. And they usually have a lifespan of about 10 to 15 years.
I chose the red fox, and you'll usually see this during their mating year or mating times, and that's usually December through March.
Shakar, who's also not here, did the loon bird, which are really cool. Has anyone here heard a loon call before? Yeah, they're wild. They're really awesome. I was driving through the Adirondacks this past weekend and heard some on this lake, and they were crazy, but they were really cool. Mo did the six-spotted tiger beetle, which I honestly don't know too much about, but it's really beautiful. Yeah.
My name is Kiernan, and I chose a snapping turtle. They're most common like around this time to like around the winter time before they hibernate, and they spend most of their time underwater. And they live up to like 40 years sometimes. So, yeah.
Johnny did the eastern redback salamander, which is the most common vertebrate in the northeastern forest. I might have gotten that right. I don't know. And there's more biomass of these salamanders than there are of humans in this area, which is also really wild to me. Sasha did an osprey, which when we were walking, we spent a few days trying to see all of these species around Burlington. And we spent a day in the Eco Center, then a day walking. Before that, we were walking on the Burlington bike path outside of the Eco Center, and an osprey flew overhead. It was like the first species we saw out of everyone, so that was really cool. Summer did the common painted turtle, which are pretty common around here, as you know from the name. We saw one in the Eco Center, which is really beautiful. I'd highly recommend going there. Yeah. Thank you for celebrating this kickoff with all of us.
Thank you, Nola and team. Excellent. Yeah, so they've highlighted, I think, 8 or 9 of the 60. And these focal species, as they were saying, are important ones. And we chose them. The Burlington Wildways group decided to focus on these because they're ones that are readily observable as spring is unfolding. And we're trying to document, for instance, when the birds are arriving back or when the bloodroot is blooming, when the turtles are active, all sorts of things like that, to really try to document what are called the phenophases, the action and behaviors that different species are manifesting as spring unfolds. So we're documenting things from pretty much March 21st all the way up to the summer solstice on June 21st, and trying to document when they're active, what's happening, if it's a red maple, when it flowers, And because with climate change, you can focus in locally and really document how things are shifting through time. So this whole study of phenology, the nature celebration, it's not only documenting what's there, but what is happening when and how it might be changing as well. It's a big scientific study as a part of that you can be a part of as you gather data, and we'll weave it all into a clock, which I know Nola and the students were showing some early renderings of that, which is tremendous. So I'm going to shift over here, see if I can do this right. All right. Whoops. Little preview there. Okay. Excellent. I'm going to nominate tonight, though, a 61st focal species. Now, I said already that we focus on the ones you can readily observe. This is not one you can readily observe, but it's one of the coolest species in the greater Burlington area. And we're really pleased to have somebody who is researching this species. It's threatened in Vermont, not likely to be seen, but it's still here, and we're trying to find a lot more about its habitat requirements. And this is our researcher that I'm going to present about in just a moment, Destini Acosta. Really pleased you're here. I'm particularly proud because I'm a professor in the Rubenstein School of Environment and Natural Resources, and Destini has been with us a year and a half and is pursuing her master's degree, and her focus is on habitat of spiny softshell turtles. She's working with our colleagues, Dr. Brittany Mosier and Dr. Jed Murdoch, part of our wildlife and fisheries group up the hill at UVM. They study, of course, right down here on the lake at the Lake Ecosystem Lab, and our new research vessel that's just about to arrive, we think in the next month. Really exciting thing in Burlington. And so just really pleased that Destini is with us tonight. So let's make Destini welcome here and get ready to learn about this incredibly cool creature.
Thank you. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. So, hi, I'm Destini Acosta, and I'll be telling you the story of the spiny softshell turtle. So I'll start off with how I got here. So I studied wildlife and fishery sciences at Penn State. And during my time there, I was offered an undergrad research opportunity where they paired me with a professor, and I performed research using the redback salamander as my research species. So that's how I got into the world of herpetology. And herpetology is the study of amphibians and reptiles. So after graduating from Penn State, I traveled around a bit and took some seasonal jobs. I did some work with small mammals, and I thought I wanted to get into some mammal research. I also did some things with invasive plant species. But after a while, I realized I wanted to go back for my master's, and I wanted to continue to study herps. So I reached out to grad students, and after picking their brains about what they wish they knew about grad school, I learned about this opportunity at UVM, and here I am as the turtle girl. So does anybody know how many native turtle species live in Vermont? Anybody? No, close. 7. Ooh, 8 was good. 8 was good. We have 7. So let me see if I can use this pointer. So we have the spiny softshell right there. We have the snapping turtle. We have the painted. We have the map turtle. We have the wood turtle, the spotted, and the musk. And those are the 7 native species. So some fun facts about turtles. They're ectotherms, which means that they're cold-blooded. So when they need to warm up, they'll bask on logs and rocks, and then when they need to cool down, they'll swim down deep, or they'll kind of burrow themselves in mud. Um, they can be a sex determined. Their sex can be determined through temperature while they're incubating in the egg. Some turtles can fully withdraw into their shells, while others, like the snapping turtle, cannot. Some turtles have the ability to breathe through their back end. So they have the cloaca, which is a multi-purpose outlet for excreting and mating, and they do cloacal respiration. So that's the pumping of water in and out of the cloacal pouches to extract oxygen from water. And this is very helpful during hibernation. So turtles are a long-lived species, which is why since they're the most endangered group of species on the planet, saving just one individual can make a difference because they live a long time and take a long time to reach sexual maturity. So I specifically study the spiny softshell turtle, and this is some background information about them. So they're a medium-sized turtle. They have a pointed snout and a leathery shell, and since they don't have that kind of hard exterior, it makes them super fast on land compared to other turtles. They can live more than 50 years, and they use a variety of habitats. Adults are found in the littoral zone, marshes, and tributary streams of Lake Champlain. They bask in areas that are sheltered. They hibernate for about 6 months in well-oxygenated water and use well-drained sand or gravel shores for nesting. So their national distribution is of least concern, but their subpopulation in Vermont is threatened. And they were recently designated a species of greatest conservation need, which is the highest priority in Vermont. And they're the only population in the New England area. It's believed that there are less than 300 adults and juveniles in the lake. So what are some of the threatening factors? So we have predation. So raccoons and skunks love eggs. And when turtles nest, they don't leave behind any visual clues as to where their nests are, but they leave a lot of olfactory clues. And since raccoons and skunks have a great sense of smell, they're able to smell out these nests even though there aren't any visual signs of them. There's also human disturbance, particularly during the nesting season. So turtles are very skittish and shy, and they'll abandon any nesting activities if they feel disturbed or threatened. Also, water activities such as fishing and boating. Turtles can get caught in fishing traps or on lures, and they can get caught up in boating propellers. Also, warming temperatures. So previously, the lake used to freeze over yearly, but it no longer freezes over yearly. And when it would freeze over, the ice would come up on shore and scrape the vegetation. And when it would melt during the spring, this would leave the beaches nice and open for them to come up on shore. The biggest factor, though, is shoreline development, and it's actually the largest factor to declining turtle populations in the US. So as I mentioned, there's believed to be about less than 300 individuals. So at my experimental site, I actually take a look at the painted and snapping turtle. And so this is just some background information on them. So they're both widespread in Vermont. They're both omnivores. The painted turtle likes to bask frequently compared to the snapping turtle and the spiny softshell that don't bask as frequently. And they prefer open nesting areas with loose sand or soil. So this is two pie charts that show the status of reptiles and amphibians. So the largest slice of each pie chart shows that they're of least concern, and then it's sprinkled in with endangered and vulnerable, threatened. But the second largest slice shows that it's data deficient, which means that there's actually a large amount of information that we lack to even label whether they are of least concern. So that brings me to my question. What are the spiny softshell turtles' nesting habitat preference? And so in my study, we hypothesized that the softshell turtle prefers an open beach free of little vegetation and debris for nesting. So my experimental field site is at Delta Park, and that's in Colchester. It's historically a softshell nesting site, so there's anecdotal accounts that they used to nest there in the hundreds. But within the past 100 years, there has not been any nesting. Currently, the painted snapping and map turtle nests there. There are 4 treatments with a total of 15 plots. And I visit this site from May to August, which is the nesting and incubation period. I visit about once a week, and then increase my visits to 3 times a week during the emergence period. So that's when they start hatching, which is mid-August to mid-October. So this is what the 4 treatments look like. So we have the controlled plot, which nothing was altered. There was no vegetation removed, no debris. And then if you look over on the upper right, we have the vegetation removal. So you see some vegetation in the background. That's where the tree line starts, and on the sides are the neighboring plots. But you can see a lot of more open sand compared to the debris removal plot, which has a lot more lush veg, a lot more willow bushes. And so in the debris removal plot, we left the vegetation, but we tried to remove any large woody debris. Any that is left in that plot is debris that was submerged in the sand and couldn't physically be lifted. And then on the lower right, we have both vegetation and debris removal. So this is where we went in and took out all of the leafy green willows and anything that we could carry out. So when I visit these sites, I conduct surveys. I conduct a nest and predator survey. So for my predator survey, I start from one plot and walk a line or a transect through the plots, and I scan the ground for any tracks. So this is an example of what I might see. I actually don't know what this is. It's some 5-toed individual versus everything else I've seen had 4 toes. So if anybody is a master tracker and knows what this is, I'm dying to know. And then I'll discuss the nest surveys. So as I said, nests are really hard to find. I either find them predated or as an emergence. I actually found this nest here only because this is an egg right there. And so what I think happened was a turtle came up on shore, found this spot, and said, "This is the perfect spot to lay my eggs." She began digging down and came across a nest. So Turtle had already laid her eggs there. So she kicked out those eggs, laid her nest, carefully and meticulously placed the substrate back on and left this egg on top. And so that was the only reason I was able to find this nest. So it's kind of a shallow depression and a slightly different color than the rest of the substrate surrounding it. But other than that, it's pretty hard to see. And then the second photo shows an emergence hole, and there's a quarter next to it for size, so they're pretty small. So when the first hatchling buries itself out, the rest will follow suit through the same hole, so they don't create much of a disturbance. The easiest nest type to find is a predated nest. So that's the one on the far right. So this is the hole that most likely the raccoon um, had found and dug up, ate the eggs, and then scattered them about. So when I go to perform these surveys, I look at the number of eggs and the shape, which help indicate the species that laid the eggs. So painted turtles can lay from 4 to 8 eggs. Map turtles can lay from around 12 to 16. Spiny softshell lay between 20 to 30, and the snapping turtle can lay anywhere from 20 to 50 up to 80 eggs. And they're all kind of oblong except for the snapping turtle, which lays more spherical eggs. But more importantly, I try and figure out, where was this nest located? Which plot treatment was it in? Was there any vegetation nearby? Was there any woody debris? So again, what are the spiny softshell turtles' nesting habitat preference? So I looked at it from an experimental view. I also have some observational sites, and I have about 14 observational sites, with 4 of them being softshell sites where they currently nest. And they're comprised of a mixture of private and public land. And when I go to these sites, I basically put myself in the shoes of a turtle, or the shell of a turtle, and I start at the water line. I walk about 5 meters up, and I begin to dig. And I take note of soil type. Am I digging through sand? Am I digging through smooth pebble? And how hard is it for me to dig? Am I really scraping, or am I just easily digging down several inches? I look around and note how many people are in the area. Is it just me or maybe 2 other people? And that would classify as like low human use, or is there 5 to 10, which I'd say is medium, or is there over 10 people? Is it like a happening spot? Then I would say it's high human use. And I also jot down information on vegetation. Is this a bright, sunny, open beach, or is there a lot of low leafy vegetation? Are there tall trees that have a very wide canopy that cast a lot of shade? Though the spiny softshell doesn't determine its sex through temperature while incubating, shade can, if there's more shade, it'll take longer for them to incubate. And if it's bright and sunny and at warmer temperatures, they can incubate much quicker. So my preliminary results. At a glance, the vegetation removal plots had the most nests. And the second was both vegetation and debris removal. So from that, we can see that vegetation appears to be a determining factor. So that's just kind of outlining. This is a plot that was both vegetation and debris removal. So you can see it's an open sandy area. So why does this matter? If we can hone in on the spiny softshell's nesting preference, then we can make better management decisions. So currently, there are 4 known sites, and they're intensely managed. There's electric fencing that goes around the plot. There's predator trapping, and there's wired mesh that is laid out after the nesting season. And this is all to deter people and predators from the area. They also perform nest surveys at this site. So if they find an emergence hole, they'll excavate the nest and they'll release any hatchlings that are ready back into the lake. Or if they're not ready to be released, they'll take them to Echo, which helps overwinter hatchlings and eggs. So for the future, I hope my study can help increase nesting sites. It can cause a lot of time constraints and funding, so having the proper knowledge of their nesting preference will help us create appropriate sites for them. So what can you do? So first and foremost, do not disturb the turtles. As I've mentioned, they're very skittish, and so we don't want them to abandon any nesting activity. Boaters and anglers should maintain a respectful distance. You should remove garbage from beaches. I know it's very lovely to have a picnic out on the beach, but be sure to take any food waste with you. If you leave it behind, raccoons and skunks will get to it, and then they'll have a field day. Keeping pets and livestock away from nesting sites. You can also get involved, so report spiny softshell sightings, and you can support conservation programs, such as donating to the Non-Game Wildlife Fund. So I'd like to make some acknowledgments before I wrap up. I'd like to acknowledge Lake Champlain Sea Grant, the Vermont Fish and Wildlife, Winooski Valley Park District, Lake Champlain Land Trust, and the private and public owners, and anybody that had come out and helped with vegetation removal, because I know it's a pain. So thank you. And thank you for having me.